What is up, everybody? Doomwake here. Welcome back to another modern video on the channel. As always, before we continue, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. Let me know in the comment section below what you thought of the video. Thanks again for all the support on the channel. Much appreciated as always. So today, we are going to be playing another Grixis deck. The last video I did was with a Grixis mid-range Lurrus deck. Today, we got something a little near and dear to my heart. We have some Death Shadow. Death Shadow is a deck that I was playing a lot even prior to Uro and Omnath's, beginning dominance in the metagame. After Uro and Omnath started dominating, I was a really big fan, ever since really Lurrus and Scourge of the Skyclaves, ever since those cards were introduced into the modern format. I've been a really big fan of Death Shadow. I have not been playing it as much lately because of the presence of Solitude. As you can imagine, if you have a Death Shadow and a Scourge of the Skyclaves in play and your opponent casts Solitude and kills your 10/10 Scourge of the Skyclaves, your Death Shadow also dies along with it. So, as long as Solitude is a large player in the metagame, I think, Death Shadow might be held back a little bit, but with the presence of Hammer Time, the increasing in Hammer Time, decreasing in maybe the Solitude, Ephemerate Elementals deck, it might be time for Death Shadow to make a comeback. This particular list that I have for you today came from the top 8 of the ManaTraders series this past week, and I'm recording this on Sunday. The event happened yesterday. So this deck, I believe the user lost round 1 and then didn't lose another match and made top 8 of the event. So, proven track record, a little, I'm small sample size, one tournament, but whenever I see a Death Shadow deck doing well, it piques my interest. So what we have here, our threat base is Death Shadow, Scourge of the Skyclaves, which I'm sure you've seen before. If you've seen these Death Shadow decks in the past, that's a fairly common 1/2 punch. And then we're pairing that with Dragon's Rage Channeler, another card from MH2. Really good with a bunch of cheap spells and or free spells like Mishra's Bauble, discard spells, removal spells, stuff like that, to really get the party going for Channeler. Also, milling Grixis and milling additional stuff to fuel your Lurrus later in the game is pretty sweet. So that's kind of cool. You'll notice the absence of Ragavan. Now, I have seen Death Shadow decks over the past couple of weeks, maybe incorporating Ragavan into the mix, and I think part of the reason why you don't see Ragavan here is a lot of people are prepared for it. And even against Hammer Time, they have a bunch of 1-power creatures like Memnite and Esper Sentinel and all these like throwaway creatures that they don't mind blocking with. So it's actually kind of hard to get in a Ragavan hit in matchups like that. And the decks that don't have those are, very readily prepared for Ragavan because it's such a huge presence in the metagame. So it makes a lot of sense to stray away from that. And you'll notice Grim Lavamancer in the main deck, which is a card that's been around for quite some time. Kind of waxes and wanes depending on how the format is shaping up. But right now, specifically against the Hammer Time decks, Grim Lavamancer is looking pretty juicy. I imagine if you play it on turn 1, and if you untap with it, it makes life, really, really miserable for your Hammer Time opponent. So I'm a big fan of that. We'll go ahead and see how that plays out. And then rounding out the threat base, we have 1 Snapcaster Mage, 1 Grixis. Grixis is a decent card, especially if you have Channeler to fuel it, but there's a lot of decks in Modern right now that don't give you the requisite time to get full value out of Grixis, so you'll notice only 1 copy here, which makes a lot of sense. Removal spells, Lightning Bolt, 4 Lightning Bolt, 1 Fatal Push. I like that split. I think, especially if you're playing Death Shadow, I understand that Hammer Time does kind of ask you to play more copies of Fatal Push, but because we have Drown in the Lock as well, Drown in the Lock very good against Hammer Time because they have a lot of zeros. So even though they don't put a ton of cards in their graveyard, Drown in the Lock for 0 can be pretty good against them. So because we have Drown in the Lock as sort of our hybrid, counterspell plus additional removal spell, we can kind of go lower on Fatal Push and higher on Lightning Bolt, which is better with Shadow because you do end up in situations where you want to bolt yourself to turn on your Death Shadow. And then it's also better with Scourge of the Skyclaves. 7 discard spells, 4 Thoughtseize, pretty standard stuff with Death Shadow. You want to pay 2 life. 3 Inquisition. We're going a little bit heavier on discard spells because the discard spells are much more powerful with Dragon's Rage Channeler. Makes a lot of sense. Mishra's Bauble, pretty obvious with Lurrus and Channeler. 2 Seal of Removal, which is something that you may not have seen before. So it's a 1-mana enchantment, sacrifice and return target creature to its owner's hand. This is kind of another removal spell of sorts, but it's also just really, really powerful with Lurrus, because you get into these spots in these, grindy mid-range attrition battles where you have a Seal of Removal in play, you cast a Lurrus, you play a Mishra's Bauble from your graveyard, your opponent has to have a removal spell on the spot for your Lurrus, or else you're just going to get too much value out of it. And even if they do, you can just sacrifice the Seal of Removal to bounce the Lurrus to your hand, either requiring them to have an additional removal spell, or you just get the Lurrus back, next turn, Lurrus, seal again, and your opponent's just stuck in the loop. So it requires them to have very specific answers, which makes a lot of sense. And then rounding out the spells, we have 2 copies of Temur Battle Rage and 2 copies of Kolaghan's Command. Kolaghan's Command, very powerful card in the format right now. Good against Hammer Tide because you can destroy, let's say, a Colossus Hammer and also kill a creature. And then it's also just really good at rebuying Lurrus and when in matchups like that, where that happens. And then Battle Rage, just, it's always one of those cards that you don't want to play a ton of copies in your Death Shadow deck, but is just kind of a requirement because of how fast Modern generally is. In the combo matchups like Cascade and Living End and that kind of stuff, you just have to, it's a pure race most of the time. So I like the Temur Battle Rages here. And then the sideboard, we got a bunch of one-ofs, so we'll try and go over them. Obviously the Lurrus, nothing, pretty standard stuff there. 1 Dispute, 2 Counterspell, 1 Stubborn Denial is sort of our Counterspell package. Oh, one thing I will note, you'll notice the absence of Stubborn Denial in the main deck, and I think that makes a lot of sense. Modern is in a spot where you want to be less reactive and more proactive. It seems like kind of crazy for a Death Shadow deck, a Grixis Death Shadow deck nonetheless, to play with no Stubborn Denials in the main deck, but I just kind of think that's where Modern is right now. So I just wanted to touch on that briefly. 1 Dispute, 1 Stub, 2 Counterspells, kind of our anti-control package. I think Counterspell is the best of the bunch. But again, it's 2 mana, and we already have Drown in main deck, so we can't load up on too many 2-mana spells. So I don't mind the split here. All 4 of these kind of serve the same. They kind of do the exact same thing against control, but you have 2 2-mana spells, 2 1-mana spells. So I like the split there. We have an Aether Gust for Blood Moon, Crashing Footfalls. Trying to think of what else. Amulet Titan, if people still play that. It's just a nice catch-all to have. Again, I like these sideboards that are kind of, especially when you're playing with Dragon's Rage Channeler and stuff like that. I like these sideboards that focus more on a bunch of one-ofs, because it's, even though they sort of do similar things, like example, these 4 cards kind of all do the same thing, they're going to be better, certain cards are going to be better in certain spots. So when you have card selection with Mishra's Bauble, Fetch Lands, and Dragon's Rage Channeler, it makes a lot of sense to kind of split that up a little bit. So I like that. 1 Kozilek's Return for Sanctifier, Envec, what's the other one? Auriok Champion, protection from red/black creatures that are otherwise hard to kill. Shattering Spree for food and Hammer Time, Alpine Moon, any deck playing Urza's Saga, really good. Any deck playing Urza's Tower, really good. Terminate when you need an additional, just kind of unconditional removal spell. It mostly will come in against stuff like Hammer Time, Murktide Region, things like that that are maybe present creatures that maybe don't die to Lightning Bolt, that you want more efficient removal, not efficient, but unconditional, I guess is the word I want to use. Pirate Spellbomb to go with our Kozilek's Return when we need to kill the protection from red and black creatures. Explosives, just a really good card right now. Can also kill the pro black and red creatures. Also absurd against Hammer Time. And then 3 copies of Nihil Spellbomb, which is a lot. But we are a Lurrus deck, so we can rebuy Spellbomb. And Living End is one of the more popular Cascade decks on Magic Online right now, so it makes a lot of sense to sport 3 copies of Nihil Spellbomb. So, let me just go ahead and show you the deck here. That is the deck list. If you want a copy of the text file, I will drop a link in the description below. And without further ado, let's get to some games. I'll see you back in just a little bit for round number 1. All right, everybody, we're back here for round number 1 of our league with Grixis Shadow. Let's see what we got. So our opponent also has a companion. You can always tell when there's a companion when there's a little pause prior to them. Yeah, so we both have Lurrus. This hand's kind of discard heavy for a Lurrus mirror, because if they're playing like a Lurrus mid-range deck, the discard spells are a little bit worse, but this hand looks really good against Hammer. Sort of. The issue with the Hammer matchup is obviously Urza's Saga. You know, you can 1-for-1 them with discard spells and removal spells as much as possible, but then they just bury you with Saga. So we're going to hope that they don't have a Saga-heavy hand, if they are playing Hammer, of course. This could be like a classic mid-range battle. Nope, it is Hammer. They do have Saga. I'm just going to take their 2-for-1. The rest of their hand is just kind of nonsense. I guess taking this means that my next discard spell is probably going to be worse. Because I could just take one of the zeros and then guarantee that I get a target for Thoughtseize or Inquisition next turn. Maybe that was bad. Just going to make sure they don't have mismatching lands. Sometimes they do. Alright, they chose not to play the Ornithopter. Alright, well, that's fine. Okay. I'm going to choose to cast Thoughtseize here because it's the one that I would much rather resolve if I draw Death Shadow. Alright, well, you know, I don't really... Huh. I wonder if I just don't want to cast the Inquisition. I just want to get Grim Lavamancer in play as quickly as possible. I actually think I do. Yeah, let's do that. I was thinking about casting Inquisition on the Ornithopter, but I think it's okay to wait because the Inquisition is still going to be live for the turn they put Lurrus into their hand. Like, you could argue that the Inquisitions aren't going to be quite as good. I'm surprised they're not playing the Ornithopter. Maybe they'll play it post-combat. There it is. Alright, Plains Nexus, 1 unknown. Trying to land there is good. So now I can start eating their stuff with Lavamancer, or I can put Lurrus into my hand, or I can hold up Kolaghan's Command. So holding up Kolaghan's Command doesn't really do much because they're not going to make a Saga token on their main phase. They're going to wait till my end step. So I think I might just use this turn to just put Lurrus into my hand. I think that makes the most sense to me. Then we'll just pass. I don't really want to Grim Lavamancer either of these creatures anyways, so I think it's okay. And then their first Saga token, hopefully I draw a land here. Because what I can do is I can go blow up your Memnite, blow up your Saga token, and then if they make a second Saga token, it'll be a 2/2 because the Ornithopter, you know what I mean? They won't have a third artifact in play. So I'll be able to Lavamancer it, hopefully. There we go. So, you know, they have Plains, 2 unknowns. Yeah, I think I'm just going to pass. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pass, and I don't think I'm going to cast the Kolaghan's Command right away. Okay, we'll let them make a thing. Now we'll go to untap, see what they do. Because they might just make another thing here. Okay, this works out pretty well for me, so I can let them make a thing. Go fetch a basic. Get a swamp. And then we'll go Kolaghan's Command, destroy target artifact, 2 damage, destroy target artifact. I guess I'll kill the Ornithopter? Not really sure. Just trying to think of how worried I am about the Memnite. I don't think I am. And then I'm just going to kill the construct before this resolves. So we can kind of get it all. It's also really nice to do this while they're tapped out because they could hypothetically animate the Inkmoth in response to me activating Lavamancer, but now that they don't have mana up, they can't do that. So that is one way they could prevent the Lavamancer from killing the token, but because they chose to make another construct, I guess it would be the same thing, right? If they didn't make the construct, they have one less artifact, so... Main deck Lantern. Okay, I assume they're going to sack it now, so they don't lose the Memnite. Is that their plan? Yep. It's not that bad because we have Inquisitions to fuel the Lavamancer more. They chose not to play their Plains. Cast Inquisition. I can save the last Inquisition for the Lurrus. So their hand is 3 lands. So now what I can do is just cast Lurrus and pass. What they're probably going to do is go land, put Lurrus in their hand, and then I can go Inquisition your Lurrus and then kill your Memnite and still hold up Drown. And that should be good enough. I would have to imagine. Yeah. Feels like we have successfully turned the corner. Being able to save a discard spell for that is pretty good too. Drew a Paladin. I don't know how relevant that is. I'm just going to attack for 3 and pass. It could be relevant if they draw an equipment. But I could also just push the Paladin with the trigger on with the equipment on the stack. So I'm just gonna let that happen. Yeah, because I can also Grim Lavamancer with the Paladin. No blocks. I think I'm just gonna kill the Paladin with Grim Lavamancer end of turn. Use my mana. I think it's also better to use the on board. Another hand. No, because they played Plains last turn. They have Clearing and 1 Unknown. They might have held on to an equipment. It would make sense for them to hold on to an equipment. They didn't want to play the equipment into the Lavamancer that they knew about, so it would make sense for them to hold the equipment there. So, we'll just kind of chill. We're choosing to animate Nexus. So they want to shrink my Lurrus. I mean, I guess I'll just push the Nexus. And then keep up a Grim activation. I don't have mana to... I guess I could have also pushed the Memnite and then Grim the Nexus, but this way I get to hold up Drown, and they're just kind of off it. Alright, so Explosive's good, Spellbomb good, Terminate is decent, but it is kind of slow on the draw. Alpine Moon, Shattering Spree, same with Kozilek's Return. Like, Kozilek's Return and Terminate do serve, like, they have purposes in this matchup, but they're both kind of slow on the draw. Terminate's probably still good enough, but I think Kozilek's Return is actually not good enough on the draw. And at that point, is it even worth having in our sideboard? Maybe not. Crooks is definitely bad. Let's cut 4 more cards. I think Snapcaster's kind of slow. And I could probably go down on threats here. And I probably don't need as many threats. Just like cut 2 Scourges because they're just slow. And then just have my deck be all removal. The thing about... Okay, so like there's this dichotomy with the Hammer Time deck is you do kind of have to put some amount of pressure on them because you can't give them infinite time with Lurrus and Saga and all that stuff. But because our threat is Death Shadow, I guess they might be bringing in Prismatic Ending. Maybe what we want to do is cut... I know it sounds weird, but maybe we want to cut Temur Battle Rage and just be like... and have maximum threats. It's kind of... They're not really... They are kind of a combo deck, so Temur Battle Rage has some applications, but I'm just trying to think, like, as long as I can kill all of their stuff, even if they're chump blocking Scourge of the Skyclaves, that's still good for us. So I think I'm going to try this. I think I'm going to see how this goes. Especially on the draw, I don't know. TBR is kind of... It's more so I just don't think that you need it in this matchup. Like, I'd rather just load up on removal and threats. Temur Battle Rage is kind of a threat, but this hand's awesome. This hand kind of just has all the stuff we're looking for. Maybe Seal of Removal's not great in this matchup, but it does help break up a Hammer Time draw. Or a Hammer draw, excuse me. Also, Bouncing Constructs is pretty good. So, basic Plains. We got the Memnite and nothing else. Good draw. Let's lead on Grim Lavamancer off of, I think, Steam Vents? Yeah, let's go Steam Vents. Ideally, you want to hold on to the Alpine Moon for as long as possible up until the point they play their Urza Saga, so that you can use it as a Stone Rain. Because, like, imagine a situation where I play Moon on turn 1 and they just have Prismatic Ending for the Moon and then play the Saga. Then I don't get value out of the Alpine Moon. And also, I'm fetching red mana to make sure I have enough... You know, I want to have, like, 3 or 4 red for Shattering Spree. Sigarda's Aid. Inkmoth Nexus. Okay. I can... I think just cast Seal of Removal and pass. I could Alpine Moon the Nexus, but I don't really need to do that. Let's just cast Seal of Removal and then pass. Let's kind of hold up our stuff a little bit. I'm not going to kill the Mem Knight. Maybe I'll kill it in a turn. Probably not. I'll probably just let them have the Mem Knight for a little bit. But we're kind of just playing shields up until I can get to a point where I can get Scourge into play. The thing is, they don't really deal themselves damage, so you have to be a little bit careful of that. I am going to fetch in response, so they cannot respond to my fetch. Basically, I just want to make sure that I always have Grim Lavamancer up. Now, granted, I'm not going to proactively Lavamancer the Paladin, but all right, declare no blocks. Inquisition of Kozilek. Not the worst, because that might force them to act. And then I can do a check for I can do a check for hammer, and if they have a hammer. Okay, so they're gonna let me kill the paladin, and then I can just bounce the Mem Knight after they equip. Alright, hammer goes on to the Mem Knight, that's fine. I'm gonna end up bouncing the Mem Knight anyway, so just in case they don't have any other targets for Inquisition, I'm gonna bounce the Mem Knight now. Because I'm doing that regardless. They have 2 Sanctifiers. Okay, that's not great for us. I guess I'll take 1. Yeah, that's actually pretty bad. Okay, okay. I guess they wanted to cast the Paladin last turn as bait, which makes sense. That was a good play. Now I can't even activate the Lavamancer, although I can't kill the Sanctifier either way, so... Thoughtseize, not the best. So I can Shattering Spree these 2, and then just lose to a hammer. I'm dead to a hammer anyways, right? Unless I hold up Drown. But then they're just going to attack for 2 and pass. Then what's my turn? End step Drown the Mem Knight, maybe? Can't play Scourge because they're at 20. Man, this is rough. Okay, maybe on second thought I might need this Kozilek's Return. Let's not feel good for me either way. Alright, I'm just going to pass. I mean, I have these 2 Drowns in my hand, so I want to get one of them out. We need to find the Spellbomb stat. We only have the 1 Pirate Spellbomb we boarded in. And oh no, we have the explosives too. So we have Spellbomb explosives. I'd much rather draw the Spellbomb. Alright, I will take 3, go to 9. Then I'm going to end step Drown just so I can use my mana. I don't love it, but... I assume this is going to be a Lurrus turn? No, Sentinel. Alright, so let's kill the Mem Knight in response. Let the Sentinel resolve, and then we can maybe Shattering Spree the Sentinel and the Hammer. Still dead to another Hammer. Okay. Yeah, Sanctifier is kind of rough. Scourge is not looking so hot. Maybe I should have boarded out these Scourges. Although TBR wouldn't have been that great anyways. So what's my plan? Can Shattering Spree their 2 creatures. The next turn they just go attack for 2, put Lurrus in hand. And then I can Thoughtseize the Lurrus, go to 5. Yeah. You also get the draw card of the Sentinel. I could also just kill the Sentinel and pay a mana. Not give them a card. Because what is the Ornithopter really doing anyways? Yeah, okay. I'm just going to kill the Sentinel and draw a card. I'm choosing to use Shattering Spree because Drown in the Loch can actually potentially get me out of the top deck hammer spot. Or I can just drag and counter the hammer with it, on the stack. So if they don't draw hammer this turn, they Lurrus. Next turn, maybe I draw land and go Thoughtseize your Lurrus, and then hold up Drown for a top deck hammer, and then hopefully the turn after we'll draw Pirate Spellbomb. Alright, land is step 1. So Thoughtseize your Lurrus. I'm at 5. I go to 4, and then I go to 2. So yeah, I have to draw Pirate Spellbomb this turn. Yeah, these Scourges are not looking great. They drew Pithing Needle. Alright, I'm going to fetch him Response. I'm not going to counter it. I'll just get a tapped Watery Grave. See if they maybe... Oh, I could have killed the Ornithopter. I guess I probably should have done that. I guess they're just going to name Grim and then hit me with the Nexus. Seal of Removal, also reasonable. It's one of my outs to Sanctifier. I guess I could have drawn that card, but... Alright, go to 2. Alright, Spellbomb? I guess I should have countered the Needle, huh? Although, I'm still kind of in a bad spot. Right, even if I counter the Needle, seal this, then... Oh, I guess I could seal it and then counter on the way back down, yeah. Oh no, because the Drown would have been gone. The Drown would have countered the Needle, so yeah, that wouldn't have worked. Alright, Kozilek's Return, get in here. Since it seems like Sanctifier is one of the only ways they're beating me. Grixis is still bad, TBR is still bad. I think all these cards are kind of eh. I guess I'll just trim a Scourge. Alright, let's go with this. So now we have 2 seals, a Spellbomb, and Explosives, and a Kozilek's Return for the Sanctifier, which I think is okay. It's a decent amount of stuff. Because that seems like the only card that remotely scares me. Seems like all their other cards are kind of whatever. Position you. Let's take a look. Alright, so they kept 1 land, Hammer, Hammer, Aid, Mystic, Mystic, Lantern. Alright, well, I'll take the Sigarda's Aid. In their hand is just all equipments. Also only 1 land, notably. That wasn't in their hand last turn. So I guess I have to take the 2 Stone Forges and then just hope they brick on a creature? Yeah, I guess. Well, that's pretty frustrating. That is pretty frustrating. Alright. Take your Stone Forges. Your hand is Hammer, Hammer, Lantern. And... Okay. Yeah. Well, this is a classic example of Thoughtseize bug. Thoughtseize bug strikes again. You Thoughtseize them, their hand's pretty bad, you take the only card that is remotely good, and then they just draw the same card. I mean, you know, it's Magic, it is what it is. Now I have to hold up Kolaghan's Command so I don't die if they draw land. I can play Death Shadow next turn and hold up Kolaghan's Command, so as bad as this spot is, it's actually somewhat tenable. They're going to draw a card now. It's fine. Alright, and they have Hammer, Hammer, X. Okay. So let's go untap. I don't really want to draw any more lands, so I am going to fetch here. Just get Blood Crypt. It's not the worst draw either. Alright, Hammer, Hammer, X. See if they're going to cast a Hammer end of turn. Oh, right, because now if they draw land... Yeah, that's the joke, right? Because I let this resolve, and if they draw a land, they go land, animate, nexus, attack with both. I guess then I chump block the... Okay, yeah, no, this is okay. Because then I have to chump block the Ornithopter and hope they go for the other hammer. Right? I think that's how that would work. Because we know they have 1 more hammer. so now we go destroy target artifact. Target player discards a card. Discard, destroy the Ornithopter. Can't deal 2 damage to it, obviously. So they're going to discard. Discard what? Pure Steel Paladin. So we know they have Hammer as one of their remaining 2 cards. What is their last card? We don't know what their last card is. That's a reasonable draw. I think I'm going to choose to play the other Shadow rather than put Lurrus into my hand, because I don't think Lurrus is actually doing too much. Also, Lurrus not actually that good when my threats are Shadows, because I don't actually want to attack with the Lurrus, and I have nothing to do with it anyways, so... Alright, they drew a Saga. I will declare no blocks. No blocks are being declared. They're going to go for it. I'm going to kill their thing. They have 1 card left, which we don't know what it is. Okay. Interesting position. I want to draw 1 more piece of interaction. That qualifies. That definitely qualifies. I thought I was going to get absolutely destroyed this game when they peeled the second Sigarda's Aid, but I think we're doing okay now. I think we are doing okay now. Springleaf Drum. You're a Scourge of the Skyclaves, also not too bad. So now even Pure Steel Paladin probably doesn't get them out of this, right? So they're just dead on board if they drop Paladin. Even if they go, like, land Paladin, equip both, they just block here and take 6. So I don't even think Paladin's good enough. What a crazy game. I thought I was just stone cold dead when they ripped the second Sigarda's Aid, but they just kind of got mana screwed a little bit, and we drew the right interaction at the right times. So that's kind of the recipe to beat Hammer. Fast, big aggressive threats, and just kind of like play a tempo game. To play a cheap threat, kill their stuff, attack, kill their stuff, so on and so forth. So, hope you enjoyed the games. I'll see you back in just a little bit for round number 2. Alrighty, YouTube, we're back here for round number 2, Grixis Shadow. Let's see what we are up against. Ooh, this hand is not great. I mean, if I knew my opponent was going to fetch Shock on turn 1, I could consider keeping this hand, because I have Removal Spell into Scourge. And I guess the worst case scenario is I can just fire off a Bolt and then play Scourge. The issue is if they play a creature, don't deal themselves a ton of damage. Like, let's say, I mean, they're not playing Hammer because they didn't reveal Lurrus. Yeah, this hand's kind of sketchy. I'm going to mulligan. I think it's fine to keep it. This hand's much, much better. I'm going to put back one of the fetches. Yeah, this hand is a lot better. I'm going to keep the Seal around, I think. The Seal can also maybe protect Shadow. Does it matter which fetch I put back? I guess I shouldn't put back Bloodstain because I have basic Swamp, basic Mountain. So I guess I'll put back this one. I mean, there's never a world... I can't imagine a world where I'm going to get a basic land when I have Death Shadow in my hand, but you never know. Might as well keep the Mire. It just gets more targets. Flooded Strand. Okay. Classic Moto. Let's go Watery Grave first, I think. And Thoughtseize you. What you got? What are you working with, opponent? They're on 6. Could be a control deck. It could be a bunch of things. Elementals. I don't know. Could be a million different decks. And it is Rhinos. Not sure how good the Rhinos matchup is. I think I just have to take Shardless. It sucks because they can just kind of cantrip into some more Cascade spells, but I don't really have a good answer to the Shardless right now, so I think I have to take that. They have Fire Ice, Force, Flooded Strand. Yeah, this is going to be awkward. This is going to be awkward. We have some good sideboard cards, but I feel like game 1 is probably not great for us. So I imagine they're probably going to get a basic, and then just ice me on my upkeep. Alright, now they're getting a Shock land. And I would have to imagine this is ice. And then I can maybe play a 1/1 Shadow. I guess I got punished for getting Watery Grave first, because like if I got Blood Crypt, I could have bolted myself upkeep and then played the Shadow to play around getting fired. Because like now, I don't really want to play the Shadow into the other Fire Ice. So I think I'm just going to get Steam Vents and play Seal of Removal. It's kind of awkward, but it's not like the Seal is even that good. I mean, in combination with Lurrus, the Seal can maybe bounce some Rhinos. They also might just force this. I would not be surprised if they force this, especially if they found a Cascade spell. They chose not to force it. Alright, what are we hoping to draw? I don't really know. Maybe another discard spell? But if they found a Violent Outburst, discard spell doesn't do all that much. So they're going to ice me again? Okay, that's fine. Blood Crypt. So we know they have Force of Negation and 3 unknowns. I guess icing me is kind of awkward because I almost wanted to put Lurrus into my hand that turn. Now I can't do that. So let's go fetch... Oh, nope, not that. Fetch for Watery Grave, and then play a Shadow. So we have a 4/4 Shadow with Seal of Removal Protection. I don't want to seal the Shadow, but I can if I absolutely have to. We really just need to try and kill them before they find a Cascade spell. I guess the nice thing is we technically have both Rhinos covered, because we can seal one and then double bolt the other one. It's not pretty, but, you know. We do have it covered, technically. Alright. Choosing to crack Misty main phase. I wonder if this is a Jace. Could be a Jace. Nice thing about Jace is they kind of have to bounce the Shadow, right? Because if they plus, then I can just still kill the Jace. So they're going to bounce Shadow, and then I'm going to get to bolt the Jace. I should just bolt it end step, yeah. So I can use all my mana by going Lurrus plus Shadow. They have Force of Negation, 2 unknowns. I would imagine they probably don't have a Cascade spell, because I have to imagine they probably would have cast it by now, as opposed to casting the Jace. So I think we can kind of safely assume they don't have a Cascader. So what could they have? They could have more Jace, they could have Cryptic Command, they could have some adventure cards like Brazen Borrower and Bone Crusher Giant. Alright, so what I think I want to do is just attack first. See what they do. I think I'm just going to play out my hand here. I'm just going to go Channeler, Bauble, Lurrus, probably Rebauble. And then I have Seal of Removal up if they find Rhinos. And even if they somehow go, like, bounce Seal of Removal with Brazen Borrower and then cast Rhinos, I can still chump block with the Channeler. Are they going to force the Bauble? I guess maybe if they have nothing else, they might have to. I don't think that's relevant at this point. Because again, we can safely assume they probably don't have a Cascade spell. They would have cast it by now, so. Right? And, I mean, I guess that means that I don't get any value off of the Lurrus, but that is fine, because I have I can protect the Lurrus with Seal Removal, which also turns on the Channeler. So, yeah, I mean, I guess they just never found a Cascade spell. Yeah, looks like they did not find the Cascade spell. Huh. Kind of thought we were going to get destroyed that game, but they drew pretty poorly, so we'll take that. I'm going to bring in all the counter spells and the explosives, and I think that's it. I could bring in Terminate as just, you know, a way to kill a Rhino, but I kind of feel like you don't want to fight that type of game. I feel like you just need to either counter the Rhino or have a 2-for-1, which is what these cards do. And Grim Lavamancer seems very bad. What else is bad? Yeah, see, it's like these removal spells. Lightning Bolt's also kind of quite poor. Maybe I keep in the Fatal Push, just as another 1-mana way to kill half of a Rhino. Because I don't really want any bolts. I like the Seals. The nice thing about Seal is, like, Seal's way better with Lurrus if the game gets to that point. If we can, like, stave off some early Rhinos with counterspells and then get to a point where we're Lurrusing, Seal gets a lot better. So, I think that makes sense. Alright, game number 2. Grixis Shadow versus Temur Rhinos. Fin seems fine. Hopefully they don't white leyline me. Imagine if they just go Leyline of Sanctity. What's up? Their deck also tends to deal themselves a decent amount of damage because they have a lot of fetches and shocks and not that many basics. Unless they decided to bring in the Blood Moons, in which case they probably want to fetch basics, but... Breeding Pool, Suspend Rhinos? Yep. Alright, we got some time. I think I'm going to get Watery Grave first, and Thoughtseize them. See what's up over there. They did keep 7. Subtlety, Brazen Borrower, 3 lands. Okay, let's just take the Subtlety. I mean, it doesn't matter too much because I'm just going to end up taking the other one next turn. I'm just trying to think, like, if they draw a better card than one of these two, which one would I rather leave around? Actually, maybe just the Subtlety. Yeah, I'll just leave them with the Subtlety, that's fine. Because, like, say, for example, they just go untap, draw, Scalding Tarn, go, and I Thoughtseize them again, and they drew a, we'll say, you know, Shardless Agent. I have to take that. There's also consideration to just playing Scourge here. Well, maybe not now. Now I probably want to go Channeler plus Thoughtseize. So let's do that. Let's get Blood Crypt, I think. Channeler, Thoughtseize. See what we surveil. Likely just looking for another counterspell. I don't really want another Scourge right now. They sound like they're going to be able to kill the first one anyways. Alright. They have lands. Let's really hope they don't draw a Cascade spell. Because that's going to be tough for us to beat. Because my plan is to drown this Crashing Footfalls. Not this turn, but the turn after. Like, next turn I think I'm just going to jam Scourge. And then the turn after try and drown the Footfalls. Because I do kind of want to clock them. Uh-oh. Tapping mana. This could be bad for us. Looks like it is bad for us. Unfortunate. Oh, wait. Okay, never mind. Maybe it's not bad for us. So, well, they clearly went to cast something. I think I'm just supposed to pass? Yeah. Kind of spooky over there. Kind of seems like they have something. Did they choose to not main phase the Violent Outburst? That's good for us. Alright, so we'll counter the Rhinos. Counter target spell. Let's go do that. I don't really want any more lands. And now we have a 3/3. And they still have Flooded Strand, Gemstone Caverns. They did bring in Blood Moon, worth noting. So that goes to 1. I believe we can dodge one more Cascade spell here. Just like we did. Just get a tap Steam Vents. I'm at low enough life total where I don't need to. Also, being at 9 is pretty relevant because I can take 1 hit from 2 Rhinos just in case something bad happens. That's pretty good too. Now we can just attack for 3, play Seal, and hold up Drown. So just kind of hope they didn't draw a counterspell. And even if they did, we have the Seal. And then we have Snap Drown for the other Rhino, so even if they draw a counterspell, it's not too bad. I think I keep that. I think that's good. It's kind of awkward that we're clogged on 2 mana spells, but I'm going to be able to convert the Drown this turn. And even if they have a counterspell for the Drown in the lock, I can just play an 11/11 Scourge to brick their Rhinos. So I think it's not that bad. I can also choose if I want to bin the counterspell now. Which maybe actually, you know what? I think I do. Because worst case scenario, they resolve Rhinos this turn, in which case my counterspell is kind of bad anyways. And I would much rather just try and find a land to be able to go Snap plus Drown, or Scourge plus Snap, you know. Or even just like a Fatal Push so I can go Scourge plus Push, just something that I can double spell with. So they're going counter the Drown, bounce the Channeler. Okay, that's fine. Their last card's Flooded Strand. So they resolve some Rhinos. We can kill one of them and then break the other one with Scourge. So I think this is still okay. We can just go Scourge plus Channeler. I think we are doing okay. Okay. Channeler. Let's cast Scourge. And then we will pass. We're covered against most shenanigans, because we have a blocker and a seal. They have to start chump blocking with Rhinos next turn. We could even go for TBR if we wanted to. See what they do. It's really, really hard for their deck to interact with an 11/11. They could draw Jace. Jace bounce Scourge would be 6. It'd be okay. And then we just go bounce a Rhino, take 4, go to 5. Next turn attack for 3, replay Scourge. So it's probably okay. Alright, they chose to not attack. Let's go to combat. See what they do. See if they drew a Cryptic. They did not. I could go for it by sealing the Rhino and drowning a Rhino, but I think that's kind of aggressive. Like, they have to chump block anyways. They draw another Cascade spell. Well, we can drown that. Blue, red, green. Alright, Violent Outburst. They're going to Cascade. So let's go. It's awkward because I could just let that resolve and cast Temur Battle Rage, but if they drew exactly Brazen Borrower, it's really bad for me, and I think they have more Borrowers than outs to the Drown in the lock. I thought it gave us the GGs, so I think that means we're good to go. Yep, good to go. Yeah, so in that situation right there, if I cast Temur Battle Rage and they have Brazen Borrower, I think it's a lot worse for me. Whereas here, if their last card's Brazen Borrower, Drown resolves on Footfalls, they get to Borrower this, but then I could just bounce a Rhino and they only have 1/4/4 left. So I think we're in a much better position if they drew exactly Borrower, and that's one of their best cards in that spot. So anyways, 2-0. I hope you enjoyed the games. I'll see you back in just a little bit for round number 3. All right, everybody, we're here for round number 3. Currently 2-0 with Grixis Shadow. Let's see what we are up against. This hand's got no lands. Throw it back. Okay. Keep this and put back Basic Swamp. Then I can go Thoughtseize, cycle Bauble. Hopefully they fetch and/or shock, and I can play Scourge on 2, or maybe bolt something. We'll see, but I'm going to keep this and put back the Swamp. That makes the most sense to me. No Lurrus from the opponent, worth noting. Excuse me. Botanical Sanctum. I don't know what that means, but let's bauble them to get full information on our Thoughtseize. Steam Vents. So it looks like it is probably the Rhino's deck. Let's see what they got. Could be Living End, I guess, but yeah, Cascade. Alright, well, I'll take Outburst, and assume they're going to cycle Riverwinder. So these are the 4 cards they have right now. Ugh, that is not great. I was going to say, hopefully they deal themselves some damage. I wonder why they cycled Street Wraith main phase. I mean, it's better for me because I get to play the Scourge now, but I wonder why they did that. gotta be a reason, right? Guess they were trying to see which land they wanted to play. But they could have just played Tarn and passed, right? And not cycled the straight Wraith, because then they would have time walked me. And then just go end step, cycle Wraith, fetch basic, Waker. I don't know, worth thinking about. It's awkward that I only have one red source. Because I would actually have close to a lethal attack if I had another red source. Well, I mean, if they don't have a Cascade spell, I assume they're just going to cast Shardless. Yeah. Well, I don't think we can win now. Don't think we can beat that game one realistically. Let's see. Nope. All right. We'll go to the next game. Nice little fast game. We got some Nihil spell bombs and counter spells. Gust is actually not good against them. Stub counterspell is Dispute is kind of not really sure on Dispute. Fatal Push is bad. Croaks I think is pretty bad. Kolaghan's Command I think is not great. I don't mind Seal of Removal. Grim Lavamancer kind of sucks. And then maybe get the Snapcaster Mage because it's slow. And I think I'd rather have just keep all the bolts to pressure them, like turn on my Scourges or bolt myself for Shadow and just try to kind of not draw them that way. I will keep the Dispute because it is good at fighting over Force of Negation, which I assume they keep in. So I'll just cut the Snapcaster because it's slow. I don't really have time to mess around with that kind of stuff. Just need to either mulligan to a Nihil Spellbomb or kill them very quickly. I would imagine this matchup is not great, though. This game is very good. How do I want to sequence it, though? They have Gemstone Caverns, huh? So sometimes these decks have Grief, which might mean that I want to lead on Nihil Spellbomb. But I think I would rather try and protect the Spellbomb. Like, for example, I could go turn 1 Channeler, turn 2 Thoughtseize plus Spellbomb. So I think I'm going to do that, and I'm going to fetch Blood Crypt first. So let's get Blood Crypt, play Channeler, play Bauble. We're just going to look for either another discard spell or a counter spell. I believe that's worth topping. I want to see what they have on top. They do have a Grief, which, yeah, I guess maybe that's a reason to play the Spellbomb first. Maybe I messed that up. My thinking was that even if they Grief the Spellbomb, I would still have a discard spell left over to take a Cascader. But I think it's much more important to maybe have the Spellbomb in play. Because once it's in play, it's harder for them to interact with. Okay, well, they didn't cast Grief, which is good for me. 1 second. All right, so I think what I'm going to do is fetch Watery Grave because I don't want to mess the Surveil up if I keep a card, and I'm going to lead on, I think, Inquisition. I don't really want to draw another threat, because I have a Shadow anyways, and I kind of want to just try and find... Okay. Wraith, Grief, Waker, Architects. Alright, well, let's play the Spellbomb in case they draw a Cascader. And now I just want to find a counterspell. Yeah, I'll keep that. That's perfect. Because next turn what I could do is go Thoughtseize plus Shockland to get myself... Oh, that only puts me to 10, though. It's not quite... It's not quite fully turning on Stubborn Denial. Because I go to 12, go to 10, play a 3/3, hold up Stub. But I can soft Stub and they only have 3 mana. So it might be okay. Alright, they get a basic. They're going to discard Waker, which may... I wonder why they didn't Grief me. Very surprised. I guess they wanted to wait until the turn that they were going to cast Living End. Well, they definitely got punished for doing that. Playing Tarn, so we know about these 4 cards because they didn't play the Breeding Pool. Gonna attack first. I still might as well cast Thoughtseize here. Because I'm gonna do it anyways, so... Not really a reason not to. Let's go Thoughtseize you. Top. Perfecto. I guess I'll just take the Grief. Actually, I should probably take the Curator, because that's the one they can hardcast next turn, and it actually blocks the Channeler. I'll take Curator. Go play Shadow, pass. Alright. So their next turn, I assume they're going to go fetch, cycle, Architects. No. Choosing not to cycle. I mean, with Stub plus Drown plus Spellbomb, I would have to imagine this game is locked up, but I don't know. There might be some way out of it for them. I mean, I guess they can choose to hardcast an Architects of Will. Okay. I wonder if they're going to target me or themselves. Targeted themselves. So now what I actually think I'm going to do is, I think I'm just going to drown the Architects and put them to 2. And then I have Spellbomb plus Stub. Because I think the only way out for them is... Well, actually, no. Yeah, I don't really know what their out is now. I was going to say their only out is... Land Foundation Breaker into Cascade Spell. But I don't even think that's good enough now. Because they only have 3 cards in hand. We know about... Oh, no, they played this. Okay, yeah. There's one card we don't know about. Sure. But even at that point, even if they go Land, Foundation Breaker, the Spellbomb, then I respond, they cast Outburst, and they're tapped out, and I can soft stub the Living End. Alright, game 3. I think I like how I sideboarded. Let's run it back. Hopefully we can do that again. Just draw multiple sideboard cards. Actually, we only drew 1 sideboard card, right? We drew 1 Spellbomb. And we drew a bunch of discard spells, a Drown in the Lock, and some threats. That is the recipe to beat Living End. No lands is definitely not the recipe to beat Living End. Ugh. Ugh. I mean, this hand is lands and spells, but it's just like... lands and some incredibly mediocre spells. Oh, God. They kept 6. What's best case scenario? Turn 1 Channeler. Put back Swamp. Turn 1 Channeler. Turn 2... Like, upkeep Bolt, try and find a discard spell or a Spellbomb. The issue with mulliganing to 5 and, like, aggressively trying to find Spellbomb is... If we find, like, Spellbomb and no threat, you know, we might give them too much time. This hand at least has a threat. Alright, I'll keep it. And just, I mean, the thing about this hand is we have a lot of good draws, like Discard Spell, Drown, Nihil Spellbomb. We have a lot of decent draws. Polluted Delta is not one of those. I'm actually going to fetch first, because I want to get... Actually, that was dumb. I was saying I wanted to get Blood Crypt, but I actually don't. Channeler. Yeah, I think I should have just played Steam Vents. I mean, there is something to be said about thinning my deck, but I'm also shuffling a land back in, so kind of evens out. Yeah, maybe I should have went to 5. Alright. Yeah, I think I am going to upkeep Bolt. Just because I really need to find a discard spell or a Spellbomb. I mean, I'm going to keep that. It's probably not going to be good enough. I guess that was also a reason to play Steam Vents first. Graveyard? I don't know if it matters. I guess in the scenario where they don't have a Living End, Shadow is decent. Okay, sure. But I kind of assume I'm just going to die. Maybe they don't have it. They probably do. So I guess what I should have done was just go Steam Vents, Channeler on 1, not Bolt Upkeep. But then I'm not giving myself an out to try and find... Yeah, I don't know, it's close. The problem with not bolting upkeep is, like, I give myself one more look towards a spell bomb, but also much less looks towards a counterspell, so yeah, I don't know. Yeah, sure. Resolves. I mean... yeah, I guess they're gonna make it so I don't draw Death Shadow. Because I can bounce one of their things, but the issue is we're not drawing Shadow, which is really bad. Yeah, I think I messed this game up. I think I was supposed to just go Steam Vents on one and then not cast. Yeah. Alright, that's enough for me. Alright, well, yeah, I maybe could have given myself a way to win that game if I had played Steam Vents on one and then maybe give myself an out to try to find a counterspell. So, yeah, I probably messed that game up. But, you know, interesting match nonetheless. I hope you enjoyed the games. I'll see you back in just a little bit for round number 4. Alright, everybody, we are here for round number 4. Yeah, round number 4. Grixis Shadow. We're 2-1. Hand is kind of mediocre, but I think it's a keep. I can go, if I want to, I can go turn 1 Lavamancer, turn 2 Fetch, Thoughtseize, activate Lavamancer. I think I'm going to keep this. Depending on what they're playing, it may or may not be good. We shall see. You'll notice the record thing is temporarily disabled. That's because I'm playing in another event right now, so kind of in between rounds of that event, and it'll show the other event. So I didn't want to get people confused. Alright, Channeler, Bauble, not great for me. Okay. Makes me kind of want to play a Lavamancer on one, though. Even though there's a decent chance that either Lavamancer dies or... oh, God. The basic Mountain Withdrawn in the lock. That's not good. That is not good. Maybe I'm supposed to lead on Thoughtseize there. I just go Thoughtseize into Thoughtseize plus Lavamancer. The only issue with that is there's a good chance that they can set up Delirium before, like, if I take that line, I Thoughtseize them, then I go Thoughtseize Lavamancer. Okay, what's best case scenario? Well, you know, now I have the Lavamancer in play active, but they have Delirium, and I can't kill the Channeler anyways, so... I think it's high upside to just kind of go for it here. So they're missing Sorcery or Creature right now. Right. Basic Mountain Drown in the lock is not a combo. Not a combo. Yeah, maybe I messed up and was supposed to just not play Lavamancer on one, because now it really messes with my curve. Looking to just take threats here. Ideally, oh man. So, if I don't take Murktide, let's say I take Iteration, they just end-step bolt me. This is turned on, so I'm at 11, and they play a 5-5. I guess I can just go bounce the 5-5. And then Thoughtseize it again. Okay, I'll take Iteration. Yeah, getting really, really punished for leading on Basic Mountain here. I think had I led on Fetchland Thoughtseize, this game probably would have been a lot different. But I got a little greedy. To be honest with you, Drown in the Lock hadn't really crossed my mind when I played the Basic Mountain on turn 1, so that was just a big mistake. Alright, they're going to cast Murktide. We can seal the Murktide, hopefully draw a Bolt or a Push to get this thing out of here. Ideally Bolt, but they're choosing to not play the Scalding Tarn, which is kind of weird. Okay, so now we go Seal. Bounce the Murktide. And then I think just Thoughtseize it. Going to 6, then going to... well, this thing's only a 1-1 now. Get basic Swamp and then Thoughtseize the Murktide. Maybe this is bad. And then hopefully just drown the Channeler next turn. They drew Expressive Iteration. Okay, so if I take Iteration, they can play a 4/4 Murktide Regent. This is not good either way. Yeah, I think maybe they just forgot to play their land last turn. Can't really think of a reason not to. Alright, there's the Iteration. Yeah, I messed this game up on turn 1. There's a chance I could have won if I played a different land on turn 1 and maybe let on Thoughtseize into Drown. Like, obviously I didn't have the Drown at the time, but, you know. Could have been a different game. Polluted Delta. Still know they have Tarn. Alright, I am at 3. Got a Bolt? Looks like they do. Alright, we're dead. Next game against Blue-Red Murktide. I think Explosives is good. I'm not a huge fan of Spellbomb. I like Terminate against Murktide Regent. I like Dispute. I'm not actually sure I like Counterspell that much, though. Maybe Stub. Like, my issue with Counterspell is it kind of just doesn't, like, it trades down on mana, sort of. I think the TBRs are not good. This is just kind of an attrition battle. And I'm just going to do some light sideboarding. I think I'm going to cut the Kroxa. It's also bad if they bring in Graveyard Hate. All right, let's do this. Another one of those matchups where I don't really think you need the TBRs. Because the games generally go a little bit longer. Maybe Murktide makes that different, but you can make some creatures that outsize Murktide Regents, so I think this setup is fine. All right, we're back here for game number 2, playing against Blue-Red Murktide. Sand seems fine. I think I can lean on basic Swamp. So I don't currently have a Shadow. Prismari Command, huh? I'm just going to take the Iteration, because I have the removal spell for the Ragavan. So they go land Ragavan. I think I'm going to kill it main phase. Obviously, it sucks if they draw another Ragavan, but also if they just go land and then attack, they can counterspell. Alright, so let's get Steam Vents. Yeah, I'm just going to kill it main phase. I really can't afford them to counterspell this round in the lock. I don't think I can. I mean, yeah, I get punished if they just go land dash Ragavan, but we know 4 of their cards, so I think this is okay. And if they do nothing, I'm probably just going to slam Lurrus into my hand. Yeah, it's definitely a good Lurrus turn. Let's go Bloodstained Mire, I think. We'll get Watery Grave. Alright, Lurrus to hand, your turn. Next turn, hopefully I draw a Bauble. I mean, we know they have Bolt, but I was going to say I can go Lurrus plus Dispute up. I don't really want to run out of naked Lurrus without getting value out of it, though. So, we're going to hold up Prismari Command. So they have 2 removal spells for the Bolt, or 2 removal spells for the Lurrus. Let's go ahead and cast Thoughtseize and see what they do. You know, they have Land, Bolt, Prismari Command. Jace the Mind Sculptor. Alright, I think I'm just going to take Prismari Command and play this tapped and pass. If they go for Jace, we can just dispute it, not that big of a deal. It is a little dangerous leaving them with Jace, but, you know. Kind of just play the waiting game a little bit. I can't imagine they're going to go for Jace into open mana. Kind of hope they do. They are not going to. So Jace, Tarn, Bolt. Channeler's not too bad. Alright, pass the turn. Still not going to go for Lurrus. Hopefully they just kill the Channeler. I don't think they're going to, but they do. Alright, that's fine. I'm not going to fight over that. So Bolt's gone. Tarn's gone. I think I'm just going to fetch a tapped Shockland. Mana life total's low enough if I draw a Shadow. Just get a Watery Grave. And I think there's a chance I might jam this Lurrus here. Because I'll have 6 mana, I can go Lurrus plus Dragon's Rage Channeler, still keep up Dispute. We'll see what we draw. I want to draw a discard spell, because I want to check for a counter spell. Ooh, that's not bad. Now what? Do I want to Lurrus first? So let's say they drew a counter spell, right? I play Lurrus. They cast Counterspell. I fight over it. And then I play Channeler. They would have also had to have drawn a removal spell and then untap Slam Jace in order to fully punish me. That's a lot, and I think I'm willing to accept if their last 2 unknown cards are Counterspell plus removal spell, then I think I'm okay with that. Because this seems like a really good turn for me to just slam Lurrus. I guess if they cast Counterspell, I can't really fight over it because I have Dispute. So if it's actual Counterspell, then I can't fight because they have 3 mana to pay. All right, that's fine. I'm not going to Snap Thoughtseize the Jace. I could just Dispute it. So they draw another Counterspell. That'd be kind of bad. Did they really draw another Counterspell? It'd be really unfortunate if they did. Nope, they did not. All right, they have 1 card left. Is it a Murktide? No. So it's not a Counterspell, it's not a Murktide. It's not a threat. Could be another Jace. I don't really want to cast Thoughtseize. I'm just going to pass. I don't want to cast Thoughtseize because I don't really want to go to 6. That's double Bolt range. So if I can avoid it, I don't really want to cast Thoughtseize. Although, if I draw a threat, then I probably want to cast it. I'm going to hold on to the land. I'm just going to keep playing the waiting game. Hopefully find a Shadow or a Kolaghan's Command, or even a Scourge would be a fine draw. They're fetching, which means they drew something. Iteration, maybe? They drew Iteration. Is it a Murktide? Yeah, that's bad. That makes my draw really bad. I also can't Dispute it. And I believe it's lethal. Alright, well, not much I can do about that. Say 7/7, huh? So we need to find Terminate. Scourge of the Skyclaves. Not really doing it. Can't drown it. No point casting Thoughtseize. I can kick a Scourge, but then I just die to this. So I guess I'm gonna go to 1. I'm gonna go to 1 and just hope they don't draw a burn spell. I mean, I could snap drown a burn spell. So, see. What's this? Alright, well, cast. Snapcast or drown. I mean, I definitely messed up game 1. I don't know what I could have done this game, though. Like, we kind of got into a spot where we were both hellbent. And I mean, as you can see, they just, drew a lot better than we did. So, yeah, I don't really know. I definitely messed up game 1 by leading on Basic Mountain. That was really bad, because then I got punished by drawing Drown. I sequenced my spells poorly game 1. But this game, I don't really know what I could have done differently. I just think that the top of their deck was way better than the top of our deck, and we kind of got into a top deck war. I mean, that's going to happen with decks like this from time to time. It's just trying to think if I could, anything else I could have done differently. Yeah, I got nothing. So anyways, hope you enjoyed the games. We're 2-2. See if we can bring it back to 3-2. I'll see you back in just a little bit for round number 5. All right, everybody, we're here for round number 5 of our league with Grixis Shadow. Let's see what we got. Shadow, TBR, Bauble, bunch of lands. I'm going to ship that. This is not much better. I'm going to keep this, put back the basic mountain. And then I'm going to go bauble them, and then Inquisition them off of probably Watery Grave. And we'll see what we're up against. Once again, no Lurrus. That's a breath of fresh air. There's been a lot of Lurrus decks floating around. What you got, opponent? They got Sylvan Anthem, huh? Okay, interesting. Not sure what that means. Elves, maybe? Yeah. I'm just going to take their one. I'm going to try and slow them down. It might be a little greedy. Maybe I'm supposed to take Realm Walker or maybe the 2-drop. But if I let's say I take Realm Walker, right, then they just get to go Mystic into this, and if they draw another 1-drop after that, it's really bad for me. So I think given my hand is, you know, kind of slow, I think I'd rather just kind of stunt their growth a little bit. Because I'm not really doing anything. Can't cast that, unfortunately. So I assume they're going to go land War Master. Maybe they'll play the Anthem first to make sure they get value out of the War Master. Not sure. Yeah, that also makes sense. Alright, I'm going to fetch the Finn because I really can't afford to draw any more lands. Skip Blood Crypt. Kroxa is not bad. Let's get Steam Vents, mostly just because I can Kroxa next turn. So let's get Steam Vents. Go red, black, Kroxa. And then we have another fetch land so we can get the Kroxa back next turn, which is not too bad. It's a way to kind of mitigate their card advantage a little bit with the Realm Walker. Kind of imagine they're going to discard Shaman of the Pack. Depends on what the other card is, maybe. They discarded Shaman. Okay, so they have Realm Walker, War Master, 1 unknown card. We can attack with a 5/5 and play Kroxa next turn, which is pretty good. But, you know, maybe they can find some stuff with Sylvan Anthem or Realm Walker, so this game's a little tentative. Maybe less so if they don't find a third land, which it looks like they may not have. So they get the Scry 1 here. Put a card on top. Okay. So now let's go Scalding Tarn, attack with Death Shadow. And I think I'm just gonna use all my mana on Kroxa here. I think it's better than playing Thoughtseize plus Scourge. Let's get Watery Grave. They go to 15. We flash back Kroxa. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keeping the Bauble in the graveyard for Lurrus. And we'll see what they do. So they can play, like, I assume they put a land on top. So they can go Realm Walker, get a token, scry a couple times, but I think that's okay. Should be good to go here. Discarded Imperious Perfect. Alright. So they have Realm Walker. I assume they put a land on top. So they go land Realm Walker. Choose Elf. They're at 15. It's a little dicey. Okay, so they get a token. They can double block the Kroxa, but I will happily trade Kroxa for Realm Walker. I think as long as they're not getting extra cards, we should be good to go. Then we can even Thoughtseize and play Scourge this turn. They put a card on the bottom. And then card on the bottom. All right. 2 on the bottom. No attacks. See what we draw. Maybe we'll just draw TBR. Make it easy. Polluted Delta. All right. Thoughtseize you. See what they're working with. Play Delta. Attack with both. I Thoughtseized first so I get more damage out of the Kroxa, which I think was worth it. they're at 12. They have to at least chump block. And then I think I'll probably just play Scourge. Well, we are dead if they draw exactly Shaman of the Pack. So maybe I shouldn't have cast Thoughtseize. Because if they draw Shaman, they play Shaman, I go to 3, block here, take 3. So, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have played Thoughtseize. Maybe I didn't need to. Could have just attacked with Kroxa, played a Scourge, and been at 8 life. So that way, if they draw Shaman, they get a token off the Shaman, right? Because they can stack the triggers where they get the token off of this and then trigger the Shaman. So I would take 4, go to 2, or go to 4, block here, take 3, go to 1. So yeah, maybe that was bad. And put a card on the bottom. I think I'm not going to crack the fetch. So they have to block all 3 of my creatures. I mean, we're still, I think, in a pretty good spot. You just draw any removal spell. Or a bolt is lethal, because the Kroxa plus the bolt kills them. TBR is also lethal. Removal spell, probably good enough. Really just any spell. Bobble myself to see if there's a bolt on top. Alright, let's attack first. So that's not a good draw. So they go to 3, go block, 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 probably leave the Realm Walker in play. And then as long as I don't fetch, I don't think they really have any outs. Oh, I guess they could keep this in play. And then if they drew Shaman... Yeah. Huh. Okay, maybe that was bad. Alright, let's put Lurrus in hand. Let's fetch for a basic, because I don't really want to draw the Channeler. So let's just get a basic Swamp draw. Should have left up these two. Okay, well, never mind, they just conceded. I should have left up Drawn in the Lock mana. Okay, so Kozilek's Return, Terminate, Engineered, Pyrite Spellbomb. I don't think I want any of the counter spells. Maybe Aether Gust, but yeah, it's kind of slow. What don't I want? Kolaghan's Command, kind of slow. Snapcaster, kind of slow. And maybe one of the Seal of Removals, because they don't... Yeah, Seal of Removal's not that great against them, because most of their creatures cost 1 mana. So, like, you're getting into a spot where, you know, you're bouncing a 1-mana creature, and they don't have a lot of removal for you to, like, want to protect your Lurrus, and the games mostly aren't about Lurrus anyways, so I think this is fine. All right, we are back here for game number 2 against Elves. Well, I got a Grim Lavamancer against my Elf opponent. Should I keep? No, I probably shouldn't. All right, well, we've still got a Grim Lavamancer, so I'll keep this. Probably put back the Kroxa. Yeah, I'll put back the Kroxa. They went to 5. Are they looking for Leyline of the Void? Maybe. They may be looking for Leyline of the Void, which I guess would make this Grim Lavamancer look kind of bad. But Grim Lavamancer against an Elves opponent on a Mold of 5 without Leyline, probably going to be good enough. We'll see. Alright, stayed on 5. And what are they doing? Guiltleaf Palace. Reveal Heritage Druid. Okay, that's fine. Just going to play Grim. I'll just play the Mountain. I think it's fine. Although, last time I said that, I got punished and drew Drawn in the Lock, so maybe I should have played Steam Vents. Although my next turn's likely just going to be Fetch Blood Crypt, Bolt something, plus Grim. So, see what they are up to. Llanowar Waste, Elvish War Master. Alright, so I'm going to kill both of their things. Everything is okay. Oops. Alright, fetch Blood Crypt. Bolt the War Master. I don't even have to Grim this thing now, I can just wait. I do want to hold up the Grim Lavamancer activation. Maybe I should have just passed. Although the issue with passing is if I say go and they have Fatal Push in their hand, and I go to bolt something, they can respond to the bolt and Fatal Push the Lavamancer, so I get no value out of it. Sure, that's fine. Just kill that thing in a turn. Just in case I draw another 1-mana spell and I want to hold up a second Grim activation, which I think is good. See what they got. Temur Battle Rage, not the best. I think I'm just going to use my mana fully and just put Lurrus into my hand. Just go Watery Grave. Lurrus, pass. We're just kind of hanging out over here. See what they got. Green, colorless, Scavenging Ooze. Okay. I would like to kill that, so fetch land would be nice. That works too. So let's go. Excuse me. Channeler. Fatal Push your Scavenging Ooze. Oops, I don't know, there's a little bit of a lag here. Channeler trigger. Graveyard that. We'll go play this tapped and pass. They have 2 cards. Holding up the Grim activation. Just in case something crazy goes, something crazy happens. Elvish Archdruid is fine. Could just kill that thing. They have 1 card left. Grim Lavamancer doing some work. Doing some work. Alright, just gonna kill the Archdruid now. Oops. Exile 2 lands, because I'm more likely to hit a land. Given that I have the TBR in hand, maybe that's bad, but I will take 1. Oh, you know what I should have done? I should have blocked there, and then just went Lurrus, replayed the Channeler. Yeah, that was bad. I don't know if it's going to matter, but... just going to attack for 2 so I can play a bigger Scourge. Don't really think there's any way out of this for them. Black, black this. Yeah, Scourge, and your turn. They have 2 cards. It's going to take a lot for them to get out of this. Green, colorless, green, Elvish Archdruid. Okay. So I can actually go upkeep Temur Battle Rage the Scourge of the Skyclaves to bin a card off DRC. And then also activate the Lavamancer. I want to draw a land. Drown in the Lock. I think that just about locks it up, if you will. I think it's lethal. I'm just going to cast it. I assume it's lethal for 12, 16. Yeah, it should be lethal. Yeah, just in case I'll top that. Sure. You never know. You never know. Alright, damage. I haven't done the math, but I assume it's close to lethal. Oh no, I think... oh yeah, it is lethal. Alright, cool. So, got a little 3 and 2 with the Grixis Death Shadow deck. Let's just go ahead and go over it real quick. Felt pretty good. I think there are some things that I would consider changing. Like, I don't know you need the second seal. I'm not a huge fan of Kroxa and Snapcaster Mage right now. But everything else felt pretty good. I didn't really miss Ragavan that much, and the counterspell package seemed fine. Yeah, everything felt pretty good, to be honest with you, so maybe Shadow's back in the menu. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button, and I will see you in the next one.